Something that I've noticed a lot with a lot of the maintenance guys that I know, because I've been doing this for years, so I have a lot of friends and a lot of people doing this kind of work. And a lot of the maintenance guys are just fatigued with this kind of work. They're tired of it and they're getting away from it. And some of them don't understand. They say, you know what, I'm just tired of it. I don't want to do it. Of course, it's the on call. It's many things, but there's two or three things that I want to talk about in this video. That's the main reason a lot of guys are just getting fatigued with this kind of work. And it's getting really hard to find good maintenance guys. A lot of the more experienced ones, they're just leaving. They don't want to have anything to do with this kind of work. And today I want to talk about these points. And I'm only talking about apartment maintenance because that's the experience I have right now. So that's what I'm going to talk about in this video. Right now I'm in a vacant apartment. I'm painting it. It's really echoey. That's why I have a lavalier mic in front of me like this. Otherwise you wouldn't understand what I'm saying. It's just way too echoey. Well, the first thing that I've really noticed that's really getting guys, tired and fatigued is that all these investors that are buying these older properties, and we've seen it all over town under new management, new investors, and they're buying these properties. It's always been investors that buy properties. It's always been this way, but now it's investors buying bulk properties in bulk. So they only have one thing on their mind. They don't buy these buildings to fix them up. They pretend like they remodel them, but they're really cheap remodels. They just want to raise the rent. It's all math. It's all numbers. They're always thinking, and this is just everybody that's buying now. We're going to buy this thing. We're going to raise rent. We're going to make our money. Then we'll sell it. Somebody else can deal with the issue later. And that's what everybody's thinking. So there's no surprise there. It's normal. It's business. And that's just the way it is. Now, back in the 70s, 80s, 90s, when they started building these big complexes that had over 100 units, the concept was that you would have one maintenance tech for 100 units, and that's still the math that everybody uses. You have a building that has 300 units, you have three maintenance guys. At least it used to be. Now it's not even that. It used to be that, but now when you think about it, right now this apartment that I'm painting is over 40 years old. I don't work for a company anymore. I'm a subcontractor now, so it doesn't apply to me. But I see it a lot. These guys are these companies are trying to have one maintenance guy for 100 units, if that. But it's buildings that are 40, 50 years old. Now, if it's when they started those numbers, these buildings weren't that old. It was buildings that were 10, 12 years old. So yeah, one guy could manage 100 units. Now, I know people are going to argue and going to tell me, I have 200 units by myself and I do okay. I'm not going to argue that you're doing okay, but I already know that the company or the whoever owns that building, they're not even hiring the other guy. So I already know you're having a hard time with materials. Your hinges are all painted over, and it's not high quality living for sure. And if they only have one guy doing turns, doing work orders for 200 units or something like that, I know the quality's not as good, and you're using vendors, a lot of vendors. So the idea is not to use as many vendors. Now, that's fatiguing a lot of guys because they're trying to have that number, that 100 units per maintenance tech in a building that's 40 years old. Of course, it's not going to work. The math doesn't work because when it was 10 years old, it was much easier. Now it's old plumbing. Plumbing's good for 30, 40 years now. Plumbing's all shot. Electrical is not even to code. So there's just way too much work going on right now for, these buildings were not designed for computers and all these things that draw a lot of energy. So there's always going to be a lot of issues. Now, that's one thing that's really fatiguing guys is they're getting tired of, there's two of us for 200 units, but there's way too much work. Well, it's not fair because it's a building that's 40 years old. Of course, you're not going to catch up. And the thing about it is you can catch up because obviously everybody's doing it. It's just the quality is going lower and lower. But that'll get to your morale. If you're working on a building and you're doing these turns and the quality is just shoddy, and you want to have pride in your work, but the company, it's all numbers. Now, what really gets to you is that you're going to see the people that move in here. This apartment is getting painted, and I'm going to be painting an apartment really close, and I'll see the people that move in here. I'm not the maintenance guy for this property, but when you are the maintenance guy for a property, you're going to see the people that move there. You're going to go do their work orders. And when they tell you, you know what, I thought this place was better. And they painted it, looks horrible, and everything's old and shoddy, and whoever did it is just really shoddy work. And you're thinking, well, yeah, I did it, but I had like 100 work orders to do and more turns and, all kinds of things. And they don't want overtime. And I was tired because I was an on-call. So it's just too much. And that's one of the reasons that a lot of guys are just getting tired. The other reason is that all these companies that bought these properties, they only have one goal, and that's it. And that's to raise rents, to make money. So if they could cut the maintenance guys in half, the staff, they'll do it and raise the rents double. They would gladly do it because that's what they're here for. That's the only reason they buy these places. So if it was possible for them to lower rates, pay you less per hour, and raise the rents 3 or 4 times, they would do it. Of course, there's a limit on how much they can do, but they're going to push the limits both ways. If they can have less guys, less materials, less money goes into the property, and the more they can charge, they're going to be pushing both limits. Charge the most and spend the least, of course. But these buildings are old. They're buying these older properties, and they want to charge these luxury living that they call them because they put a tie on a pig. They want to charge it like luxury living, like really really nice apartments, and they're not. They're old. They don't have enough guys. People are complaining. The tenants are always upset because the work orders don't get done in time, or when you go in there, you may not have enough time to do what you wish you could do. But it's not the only work order you have. You go in there to, look at some kind of an issue, a closet door. Well, that's not the only work order you have. You have all kinds of people waiting for you. So you go in there, you get it running, and you're out of there. Yeah, it'd be better if you replace the rail, you put new rollers in it. That's ideally what you want to do. But the companies don't want to spend the time, and you don't have the help. So you just quick fix it and get out of there. And that'll get you your morale. It really will, because the tenant's upset. They think you don't want to do it. The manager's going to say, well, that's really shoddy work. Well, yeah, but because you have like 20 other work orders you want me to do today, and everything's an emergency. So it'll get to your morale. Now, the one thing that I've noticed in this business, in this trade, is that a lot of maintenance guys are stuck in old apartment complexes. Even if they work for a company that has other apartment complexes, and I'll give you guys an example. Let's say you're really good at what you do. You run this old complex that has no budget. People are moving out. Rents went up so much. People were paying $800 a couple of years ago. Now they got to pay $1,200, and they'll have $200 increases or $100 increases every renewal. And of course, people are moving out, so now you got more work orders, more turns, more work orders, all kinds of more work. Because the rents they're just pushing the rents as much as they can. Now that's going to affect you. You're going to do less work. Less quality work, more work, but less quality. And tenants are never happy. Of course they're not happy, because they're paying a lot of money for these older places. And if you're in an old building, let's say for some unfortunate reason, you ended up being a maintenance tech in an old building, and you're pretty good. And you're reading, Indeed or wherever your company hires, and let's say you're making $25 an hour, and you see they're hiring for 28 at a better complex, and you think, why am I not making 28? And you go and talk to your manager say, well, it's that's all the budget that we have. And then you ask them, well, move me over there and give me that position. Well, we can't send you over here because we don't have anybody to replace you here in this old building with all this nasty work. So guys are stuck. Because they're going to hire some new guy that doesn't have any experience. They're going to give him the 26, 27, 28, going to make more than the experienced guy. They're not going to move him. They can't replace him where he's at. That new $27 an hour kid that's, just starting, he can't handle this old building. So he's going to be over there with a team of guys with a bigger budget, and you'll be stuck there. So that's something that I've noticed a lot. And unfortunately, companies, they don't really care. If you're there and they can pay you less and squeeze, as much as they can out of you, that's where you're staying. And they'd rather hire a new kid at a nice property, and that's it. So that's some of the reasons why I see a lot of fatigue with maintenance guys. This industry just got really hard for maintenance guys, and I understand if you're an investor and you're buying these buildings, you're not thinking about making, that your maintenance guys are going to make a lot of money. That's not your goal. Your goal is to pay the least amount and charge the most. It's all numbers. Of course, it's a numbers game. Unfortunately for the maintenance guys that are stuck in the middle of this, well, it just is what it is now, and so that's why I think that I just want guys to understand that it's not your fault. It's just the way this industry went, and well, that's what I think is the reason. Anyways, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.